Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It's once again time for the WADcast, episode number 106. It's the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast. Coming at you live on a Friday night. I am Josh, one of your hosts, joined as always by the... okay, that's a little bit out of habit. Coming at you from beyond the left coast, from a little island called Gentopia. It is Jen.
Yes, as always, kind of makes it sound like I'm permanently attached to you, and obviously I'm not. I do take nights off, so.
Well, not this week.
But I'm really glad to be here. I feel like this could actually be a really fun time. I don't normally get to be on the WADcast, so maybe there is some trouble that I can get up to while I'm here and, break some norms.
Up to shenanigans.
Yes, I kind of like shenanigans. That's a great word.
Well, if in case you're wondering, or in case you've popped in a little bit, a few seconds behind schedule, the other voice is, of course, not Brandon. Brandon had to, do Brandon stuff tonight. And as always, real life comes before everything. So, Brandon, if you're out there, if you're listening, hey, buddy, how you doing? Is work going okay? Huh? You having a good time there?
Oh, God.
You having fun? Yeah.
That's cruel.
You can use as many F-bombs as you want in the comments, Brandon. There's no problem there. So
that's so cruel.
With the introductions out of the way, Jen.
Yes.
It's our third night in a row together. People are going to start to talk.
I know. Well, if they're not talking already, they're not paying any attention. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
But I guess I should still ask, what have you been watching lately? What's new on the old eyeballs?
New. Well, okay. I did reserve Hocus Pocus 2 until tonight, so I haven't seen it yet. It's sitting in Disney Plus. I am really excited about that one. And it took all of my effort not to watch it ahead of time before everybody could sit down and watch it. So, but I'm good that way.
Nick Fury shows up is pretty awesome.
Spoilers. Jeez.
Whoops. Sorry.
Dang. Let's see. Okay, so last night I actually watched the fourth episode of Andor, and I like this show. I like it a lot. It is so... Have you seen it at all?
No, but I have to say, the name sounds really lazy.
Well, it is kind of. Isn't it that one guy from before, from the Rebellion?
Thinking more along the lines of, we should have this take place on Tatooine or Hoth. Wait, what was that? What? Tatooine
Coruscant.
or
Coruscant. Let's have it or Coruscant, because that fits perfectly.
Andor.
Yes.
We're gonna call it Andor.
It is an odd name. It is a very odd name. But you know what? Who cares? I don't care. I love him. He's absolutely fabulous. He's my baby.
So it's the name of a character.
It is the name of a character. And he's the character from Rogue One. He's the character at the... Okay. Well, no spoilers. I won't spoil. But something happens to him at the end of Rogue One. And that's what fuels the entire story that is being told right now in this episodic gem, which is unlike any of the Star Wars series that I've seen. It's not like Mando. It's not Cowboy Western, which is great, and I love it. Also, shout out, Baby Yoda. Love you. It also isn't the Bad Batch, the Star Wars Bad Batch, not the one that we talked about yesterday with Jason Momoa. It's not that. It's nothing like any of the other ones. And it's a very grown-up story that it tackles a lot of hard stuff, but it's great. It's really fabulous. I really like it. I'm sad you didn't get to see it, though, because I feel like you would love it.
I've watched all of the Star Wars series so far, but I've been taking this let the episodes build approach. So I haven't even watched all of She-Hulk yet, and I'm actually really liking that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Just seems like some of the episodes are really short. So rather than getting like a quick fix and going, I want more, I'm waiting to have that appetite satiated.
I am
one good sitting.
I'm way more masochistic than that. I absolutely enjoy the, hey, I can't wait until next week feeling. But I think also, at least for me, I I was actually kind of disappointed that Andor started with 3 episodes. Not because I didn't. I mean, in retrospect, I feel like, yeah, that's the minimum that they could have done because they needed to tell a story first. But I'm one of those people that's like, the season is only 10 episodes long, guys. You're not giving us 30 episodes. So when you put so much out there in the beginning, then it doesn't feel like we have a full experience. And it's that week to week experience that I like. I really do like it. I like being able to, my own virtual water cooler. I work from home, so it's not like I'm heading into the office. But I like that feeling of being able to chat with people, discuss stuff on Twitter, have, conversations with people that are also watching it, and think about what might be coming for the next episode and, plot and scheme. And I mean, I don't know where else I would get all of my diabolical nature out if I wasn't for that. I mean, there's got to be some place to have your superstition slash conspiracy theory kind of stuff to build, right? I mean, I can't be alone in that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, actually, I know a lot of people like you who are give me the series or give me death kind of people. And to that point, did you know that Netflix is about to switch that up and stop dropping whole seasons, and they're moving to the same model as all the other plus channels, and the way that they're making it work with the episodic week by week format. Did you
I
know that?
I did see something about that. I was not super thrilled to find that out, to be perfectly honest, because that was one of the perks of being a Netflix subscriber, right? You watch it at your own pace.
Right.
And
But
I'm so against appointment viewing.
But they are finding that the plus channels are making a lot more long-term subscriber moolah by encouraging people to stay with the platform season by season. And you'll also notice that a lot of the platforms now have like a 1, 2, or 3 week window between super big releases. So what they're trying to do is keep you engaged until the next big thing hits the platform and saying, okay, well, don't unsubscribe yet because here's what's coming. It's kind of messy right now out there in streaming content. I don't know about you, but wow, it's all over the map right now.
Yeah.
It's a bit crazy.
I can see the business aspect of it as rather than, okay, you pick up a subscriber for a day, they binge the show, and then they're done.
Right.
But somebody would counter that the argument for that is just create more content. But you can use this one bit of content to keep subscribers without having to create, using one show to hold on to people for 8 weeks versus having to use like 4 shows to hold on to subscribers for the same amount of time.
Yeah. And honestly, I think this all kind of also goes back to the original conversation that was being floated out there with Netflix using uh, streaming content for ads or ads for streaming content. Um, I think it becomes less viable for advertisers when you can binge a season as opposed to here's content that people are going to be tuning in every week for because the ads get targeted. So I think that might also have something to do with it. It's a tough call, though.
I guess if it's spread out more, it also it also remains in the public consciousness for longer. Rather than you hit your binge, you have your
Yeah.
5 days of headlines and then it's gone.
Yeah, I can say quite honestly that while black sails was a thing, and anybody who knows me knows that, I have a thing for those pirates. Um I followed a bunch of people that were basically like critics, but they really loved the show. And I looked forward every week to reading what they thought of the next episode that was about to air. And it built buzz. It built genuine interest in whatever was coming. And I think in some ways I kind of miss that with some of the streaming platforms that do release, an entire season of something all at one time. But I will say also that, doing that, releasing the whole, just going episode by episode is also problematic sometimes for the streaming content providers, because once you have an episode by episode viewing base, you really have to keep them entertained, because week to week you will lose. And I mean, the standard used to be Nielsen. It's moving in a different direction now, but you lose viewers if your content isn't really as solid as it was with episode 1 and episode 2 as it is for episode 5. And so that carries with it its own risk. And I know that greater minds than myself, sitting in boardrooms across the entertainment spectrum, have these discussions continually. But it's interesting from the public perspective to watch some of this stuff play out in front of us, because it really does affect what we're getting to see. It affects, well, I shouldn't say it affects what we're getting to see. It affects what we're getting to see in the sense that how we're getting to see it is being very mixed up at the moment. It's very interesting. I think it's actually kind of cool.
You know, recently I've been watching a whole lot of Glee, just 6 straight seasons, and I binged it, got through it, finished it, and that left me with a hole in my watching schedule. So I've been kind of bouncing around with the new episodes from some of the shows that I like that are on network TV. Hulu is one of my favorite services for that reason, to be able to catch up on network television. I've been watching The Connors and Abbott Elementary. Looks like
Hmm.
it's going to be a really good season. And let's see, I also saw The Toys That Built America.
Ooh, I love that series. That's a good one.
I was surprised that there were only 3 episodes, but I guess it shouldn't be that surprising. The first season of the food that built America was I think only three
They pack a
episodes.
lot into those episodes, though. There's a lot
They
in
do.
there. So,
And in case you're not familiar with the Built America series, I believe it's History Channel that talks about a certain aspect of business that helped make America what it is, pop culture wise, whether it's toys or food, fast food and things like that, talking about the innovators, the inventors, the companies that pushed these products to the masses and the stories behind them, and with um, reenactments, I guess is the best way to put it, of the more eureka moments in the timeline.
hmm.
So the food that built America is what got me onto that just style, and these guys do a great job. Although I do think the Netflix the toys that made us is probably better as far as informational goes, but that's just one man's opinion.
I
But
I kind of think you're right. Actually, I feel like you're right.
between that and the movies that made us, a amazing docuseries.
The movies that made us is fabulous. That and I mean that also packs so much into a couple of episodes. It's very, very, very informative, but also just really exciting. Yeah, I think you know one of the things that I this is one of the things that I was talking about with Andor to a friend of mine. Um, this sense of nostalgia that we get about our content is so overwhelming sometimes. And obviously, we have multi-generational viewing public. So what one person finds nostalgic, another person doesn't understand at all. But there are some certain things that seem to be collectively in our consciousness that we all sort of understand as, yeah, this was sort of what made the next steps possible. And that's what the toys that made us, the movies that made us, the food that made us, that it is one of those things that just you sort of recognize the deep connection between the nostalgia that you feel and then also the history that tracks it together. It's just an amazing concept and idea. I love it.
I think just in general, doing history in a way and about things that, and I hate to put it like this, people care about. You know, people know Pizza Hut, and so they'll be, hey, Pizza Hut. I know Pizza Hut.
Right.
What's the history of that? Or Hot Wheels. I know Hot Wheels. What's the history of that? And the people are more inclined to look at the history of something that they already know rather than, we're going to talk about the Franco-Prussian War. No matter what kind of, coding you put on it, unless it has like, a rapping George Washington, people aren't very much interested in history, it seems, unless it's wrapped in a brand that they recognize.
One of the things also that which I notice happens more and more is w- we are being marketed to exactly like that. We are being shown uh glimpses of things that clearly make us feel that, which is also obviously, I mean, that's the way to get people to buy stuff, but it's also the way to get people to stay connected with things too, which I also find super fascinating. I got to ask you a question. Um
Shoot.
okay. So what streaming platform right now do you consider to be the most important in your life? That is
Hmm.
like, I can't do without it. Everything else has to go and you can only keep one. What's it going to be?
That is a good question because I have like a personal choice and a family choice.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Like one that I can have, for me, but my kids would kill me. So I'd have to go with the other one. Hmm. I don't want to be murdered by my children, so I'm going to say Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's I although I do love Disney Plus. I would definitely have a tough time without it. I have to go with HBO Max.
That would have been my, uh, not afraid of the kids answer.
I'm so addicted to almost everything in their catalog that it's hard for me. I think it would be really difficult for me to not have that as a part. And what's funny is I will go through hell to make sure that my Netflix is paid when there are some months that go by when I don't even watch Netflix at all that month because there is just so much other content available and I'm like, "Okay, I'll make a note and I'll come back to this later." But I don't use it at all. But ask me if I could give it up? No. I I mean, I feel so connected to a lot of my streaming platforms that even if I'm not watching them, I'm like, "Yeah, but you can't take my content away." And I mean, in some ways, it's like so brilliant from the marketing perspective because, yeah, I don't want to have less stuff to watch, but at the same time, man, we have so many choices right now. I mean, I think we have, uh, I mean, Roku by itself is big, but I think we pay for like 15 different streaming services. That's a lot.
I canceled my Netflix account.
Did you?
Yeah, and it was easy to do for me because, like you said, there's a lot of time that goes by, between uses of it. Um, well, luckily for me, because my dad was on my Netflix account for the longest time, and when I cancel it, he's like, "You're canceling Netflix?" It's like, yeah, money's getting tight. That is by far the most expensive streaming service that I have.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it. And I'm the guy that has Paramount Plus and Peacock, with no commercials, and Hulu and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and HBO Max. And HBO Max is included with my internet provider. Um,
Oh,
I
lucky.
actually have the Disney Plus Hulu ESPN package. I've never watched the ESPN part, but it's it was cheaper just to get all three without commercials. Um, because I had both Hulu and Disney Plus, so I have all of these. And when money got a little on the tight side, it was easy to make that. Okay, Netflix is gone. But
Wow.
like I said, fortunately, my dad's like, "Well, I want Netflix." It's like, okay, get Netflix, and he did. So he gave me the password, and
No, now, see, I mean, there are certain things on Netflix that I feel like if I don't have access to, even if I haven't watched them in a long time, that I will just physically die if I don't have access to them. So it's so irrational, but I also I feel like yes, it's irrational, and yet it's also yeah, this is the genius of streaming marketing. Because you I don't know, I feel like, well, I don't want to not have access to stuff that I like, even though really if I think critically about it, of course I'm not going to watch it, for like I could go with 6 months without seeing whatever or just wait for the next season of something or whatever. I
I,
mean,
I couldn't wait for Cobra Kai.
it's crazy. I see. I feel the same way about Witcher. I get super excited about any news about Witcher, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I got to keep my Netflix because, okay, I know it's going to be a year away, but what if they come out early? I don't know. I mean, it's so silly. It's truly, truly silly.
Well, Brandon just wouldn't be stifled tonight, so he chimes in the chat with you in spirit tonight. HBO and Max and Hulu are where it's at, and follows that up with thank you, Jen, for filling in.
Oh, you're so welcome. Listen. Uh, in case you didn't understand or know based on other previous podcasts that I do with Josh, I kind of like to talk, so works out perfect. Yeah, works out
Just like
perfect.
Brandon.
Hey, this is a good club to be in. The world needs
I
more
guess it
people to
helps if you have a microphone in
articulate.
front of your face. You
Well,
want
and
to use
also
it,
not everybody wants to articulate all kinds of things.
and that's why you were
Oh,
banished, Brandon. That's why.
fighting words with the cobra cry. Oh god, okay. I won't even say it. I
Cobra
won't say it.
Kai. Brandon chimes in with Cobra Kai is trash.
No,
Well,
see,
you
I
know what?
wouldn't say
We'll
it.
settle
I
this.
wouldn't say it.
You know what'll settle this? A karate fight, just like in
Um,
Cobra Kai.
okay, okay.
I challenge you to karate fight, Brandon.
Listen, we're talking about streaming content and we're talking about what good marketing is. We could definitely create a good marketing strategy around this. We could.
Brandon says it's too predictable. And
I'm sorry, Josh, but I have to agree with Brandon on this.
He's not wrong. That doesn't make it trash, though.
I found Cobra Kai to be it was predictable, and it also feels in a way that isn't interesting to me, so formulaic that like I almost feel like I could actually write it. Not it just wasn't great.
It's Saved by the Bell with karate.
Yeah, maybe.
I made this observation a little while back. Cobra Kai and Glee are the same show.
Oh, do explain.
Oh, they're both about adults with rivalries that are settled through children's hobbies.
Good point.
And I love them both. Inexplicably. Both has like 30-year-olds as teenagers. That's always fun.
I don't see. Now we're moving into stuff like, when I used to watch Vampire Diaries, I used to feel like, oh, this is so great, and then I hated it. I hated it for the same reasons, because there comes a moment, I think, where everyone's content viewing sort of veers in a different direction, and you sort of morph out of one phase into another phase. And I mean, like, everybody goes through a whole bunch of different phases, but then there are things that stay, I think, stuck in our minds. And we just talked about this with the nostalgia thing, where the nostalgia of something itself becomes so important that it doesn't matter whether the content is trash or not. You're willing to watch it because, hey, this is my jam. And I totally respect that. I really do. I just find it hard sometimes to stand behind certain series because they are just so crazy. But yeah, okay. I mean, I'm here for you.
Brandon says the whole series could be squashed with communication. Every single moment that drives the plot is through some child or adult misconstruing a fraction of conversation, running with their own perception for a few episodes until they literally get the sense knocked in. Kind of like, television.
He's not wrong.
You know what, Brandon? That is insightful. You should have a podcast.
He's really right on the money with that, to be honest. And that is the Karate Kid. I mean, the Karate Kid basically was exactly that. It was learning some different ways of communication to get your point across, which is sort of, yeah. I, I I guess maybe we could call Cobra Kai remedial humanity. For those of us that didn't get it the first time around.
Yeah, it's a cheap plot device to keep things rolling. I'm not going to defend it and say it's a great series. I just said it's enjoyable.
It's not fun. It's just, unless you want to watch it, which I feel like, again, plays into this nostalgia thing. It's yeah. To me, it's just formulaic, but that's just me. There's plenty of stuff that I watch that is extremely formulaic, including Mandalorian, which, I mean, from episode to episode, I feel like I could almost write it out on paper and know what is going on without ever having seen anything. Just, give me a broad idea of what is supposed to happen this episode, and I'll write it out. And 9 times out of 10, I come really close because there's a formula that they follow. So yeah, there's that. Also, I mean, I did used to write romance novels, so formula is a part of my fiction. Yes, it is. Sorry,
now,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I've gotten into a new show on Hulu recently, and it was a little disheartening to see that it was one of those shows where it releases weekly, because I thought the entire first season had already been, dropped. And that's
Is
Reboot.
It The Patient? Oh, it's not The Patient.
It's not The Patient, it's Reboot.
Reboot. I haven't seen that.
Stars Rachel Bloom and Keegan-Michael Key, and Judy Greer and Johnny Knoxville and Paul Reiser.
Ooh, Paul Reiser. Interesting.
The setting. Pardon me as I pour my drink. Got to have a little bit of the liquid courage.
Sure, whatever floats your boat.
Water floats my boat.
That is like the best alcoholic drink. Oh no, wait a minute. No alcohol.
That's some high quality H2O.
Hey man, I have some non-alcoholic water for you. Oh,
Just
you mean
the way
just
I
water?
like it.
Yep, exactly.
So
Yes.
Reboot is, it's kind of peek behind the curtain of Hollywood in a way, as Rachel Bloom plays a showrunner that pitches a reboot, as the title suggests, of an early 2000s family sitcom. And she it's not like she wants to take into an edgy new direction or anything like that, but she does want to bring the characters back, and rather than make it a cheesy schlockfest like the original was, she wants to add more heart to it. But then they bring the original creator and showrunner in to kind of help out, and he's Paul Reiser. He wants to do the original cheesy schlockfest. So it's the cast and the showrunners, all of them kind of butting heads. Johnny Knoxville being, Johnny Knoxville, and doing a great job at it, by the way, makes this a series that I am now going to be looking forward to watching every week. Brandon, if you're still watching, watch Reboot. Take notes. You know why. This is right in our
sounds
wheelhouse.
Interesting. It sounds really interesting.
Well, I guess 30 minutes of what we've been watching. You wanna touch on some headlines? Let me get your opinion on some of these news stories that are running rampant in Hollywood.
As somebody who loves Hollywood gossip, I feel like this could be really fun. So have at it.
All right, the first one. Hugh Jackman is returning as Wolverine in Deadpool 3.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That liar.
Yeah. Also, okay, not to rain on anyone's parade, but I'm pretty sure that Wolverine was dead. I mean, Deadpool was dead too, so okay, maybe it's a resurrection reunion? I don't know.
They meet in heaven.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, they released a short video explaining that, yes, Logan is still dead, but this is a totally different thing.
He's dead, but is he dead?
After all, Logan takes place in 2029.
Okay.
But I still don't think it's going to be on the same timeline, as it were. Because with the multiverse, everything is possible now.
There is a part of me that feels like the proverbial beating a dead horse is maybe applicable here. I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm ready for anything Deadpool because I freaking love Deadpool. I love everything Deadpool. But I don't know if the Wolverine thing needs to come back. Don't get me wrong, I loved Wolverine, but do we need another? I don't know.
This is
I'm
something
really conflicted.
Fans for years have been clamoring for, especially because Deadpool holds tightly to its R rating, and there has been this wanting of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Deadpool to appear together. And if there was another thing that the people want, maybe more than Deadpool and Wolverine, it's Hulk and Wolverine. And both are now possible. And I do remember a conversation with Hugh Jackman way back in the day, right when he retired. They said, Hugh, is there any way you'll come back as Wolverine? And he said, no, 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 no. But I would like to fight the Hulk. So
See,
he did have a caveat.
I feel like all actors start out with this sort of, no, I'll never do this again because, I've given everything I can to the character and the timeline is and the storyline is and whatever, right? And then they buy a new house and suddenly the mortgage comes due and they're like, hey, I think I got a little bit more in me. I mean, obviously that's a little bit, tongue in cheek, but seriously, I don't know. Sometimes I don't even trust what actors say anymore about their integrity about playing different characters because I feel like what we really need to do is just pop into their bank account and then we'll have all the answers we need.
I am one of the people that always says, because every once in a while there's speculation that so and so will appear in such and such, right?
Uh-huh.
And they say on their Twitter accounts, no, I'm not appearing in that. Or, well, if I'm in it, it's news to me. And considering everything that's happened over the last few years from, Patrick Stewart and John Krasinski and all that, I'm the first one to say, yeah, that's exactly what somebody who is appearing in that movie would say.
Right.
So if it's also true he's going to be wearing for the first time his yellow costume, I'm in. Well,
Wow.
hell, I'm in anyway.
I mean, let's deconstruct that for just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
All other kidding aside, Hugh Jackman is at his age still able to wear spandex and look good in it. And that probably earns him a special spot that most fans would, well, most of the fans that I know would go see the movie for forget everything else. And then throw in Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. And yeah, I can see why people would want to see this. I really can. I really was just mocking the idea of actors saying, I'll never do that again. Yeah, no, I don't believe it. I never believe it.
I also think it's great that they just got ahead of it and were like, yep,
we're doing it.
we're pulling the trigger because it's easier to have those claw marks on the poster than try to figure out a lie as to why the logo looks that way.
I like it actually. I mean, I have to say I do actually like the idea. I do feel like this could be good. And especially since Deadpool, along the R rating curve, it could really be fun to see Wolverine unleashed because I do feel like we oftentimes get a fairly tame Wolverine. Not Logan was, obviously a bit of an outlier, but for the most part, whenever we see Logan in the superhero, genre with all the other superheroes, it does seem to be a little bit more sanitized than I feel like kind of works for the character. So it might actually be good.
My only qualm with Logan was how the first 2/3 of the movie are an amazing futuristic western, right?
Right.
And then the third act is it. I'm going to say it. It devolves into a superhero movie,
Yeah.
and I think having those type of superhero fights with the "oh no, it's another version of me" kind of thing really doesn't do where the story was going justice.
No, and honestly, if the multiverse had been a part of the storytelling at that point, I think they could have gone in many different ways and it may have worked out a little bit better. But it wasn't, so it didn't.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from the craft that was Logan because overall it was still a very good movie.
Right, and cinematically, I will say that Logan stands by itself. In all the Wolverine movies, it was absolutely shot brilliantly. Technically, that is a gorgeous movie.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely gorgeous. So yes.
Do you like James Bond?
I yes. Depends on who the James Bond is, but yeah. Some
Well,
James
starting on
Bonds are better than others.
October 5th, you will have all of them to choose from, as every single James Bond movie is going to Amazon Prime.
Hey, now that is something worth celebrating.
And
Quite
on that
seriously.
same day, the Sound of 007 live from the Royal Albert Hall. It's a recording of the live concert with the music from James Bond. Will also be on Prime Video.
What's your favorite James Bond movie?
My favorite James Bond movie is Moonraker.
Really? Jaws and everything. Wow.
Jaws falls in love. He becomes
Wow.
a hero. That's why. Jaws is the reason why I love that movie.
Well, I don't know why that makes sense, but it does actually make sense.
Is it the
I
best? No, but it's the one I love the most.
it has a unique campiness to it that is also I have to say that Roger Moore made, I think, one of the most iconic James Bonds after Sean Connery. There is something so suave about that character that doesn't quite fit but works perfectly. It's weird. It's so weird. So I'm on board. I like Moonraker too. Moonraker is one of those movies too that, like, when you watch it, I don't feel like you can be in a bad mood after you watch that movie.
No, no, and like I said, you look at Jaws, and he finds love, and it makes you feel like anybody's got a chance.
I'm man, you know what? It's so hard for me to pick a James Bond because um I feel like they are all so good. I mean, well, with some notable exceptions, but I think I would go with the 1963 From Russia with Love. I really, 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 really love that movie.
It's a good one.
It's the story itself is so well crafted that it makes me happy. Right after that, I think, is Goldfinger, because Goldfinger also has such an excellent story in the middle. I mean, like, the lots of other stuff is happening around the outside, but everything coalesces around an excellently told story. And then sometimes some of the James Bond stories, let's face it, I mean, they get all fringy on the outside, like they don't mesh. I mean, there's lots of action and there's lots of things happening, and James Bond does James Bond stuff, but the story itself kind of, it feels raggedy. But then there are a couple that just, like, yeah, the story is so solid and so good, and yeah, that's definitely got to be one of them.
I will say I do enjoy the Daniel Craig Bonds. They are definitely fun action watches, right?
Very.
But my only nitpicky qualm is, and unfortunately, this is just the trend of James Bond movies to be reflective of certain filmmaking aspects of the day. Daniel Craig, his Bond movies, I feel, leaned maybe a bit too much into the Bourne type action.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they do it very well. The action sequences and the story that plays out through Craig's Bond movies, top notch stuff. But it kind of feels like maybe it lost a bit of the essence of what we've been used to as Bond for the last 50 years.
My biggest complaint with Daniel Craig as Bond, and this is in no way a reflection. I'm sorry, Daniel Craig, if you ever hear this. I love you in everything else that you do.
It's a long time
But
listening.
there is zero chemistry between Daniel Craig and any of the leading ladies, or any of the leading men for that matter, in any of the James Bond movies. I feel so like one of the integral parts of James Bond to me is always a central love story. And perhaps this is the romance writer in me, I don't know, but I do look forward to that. And when there is zero chemistry, I start feeling cheated by the story. Like, yes, okay, action, and I love this. And also, the other thing is, post 2006 into Quantum of Solace, the cinema just took off in directions that I would never have expected. I mean, honestly, Skyfall is I think one of my most favorite Daniel Craig versions of James Bond because the cinema is just so good. But he has no chemistry with anybody, and maybe that's is sort of like a direction to go in. Like, okay, James Bond stands alone, and he's such a pillar of male strength that he doesn't need anybody with him. And okay, all that stuff is fine. But there's got to be something. There has to be some chemistry between him. Give me chemistry between him and Q, for goodness sakes, if you need to. Something. And I never feel like it exists. Which, yeah, that to me is kind of unfortunate.
Well, I will be
tell
watching
me if I'm
all of the
wrong.
movies. I can't tell you that you're wrong. But I can revisit it on Amazon Prime starting October 5th.
That's really exciting.
There was a little bit of a shakeup at Marvel Studios this week as two things happened. One, Blade director Bassam Tariq stepped away from the film, being replaced by Sam Raimi as director.
I heard about that.
But from what I understand, Bassam Tariq is still going to be an executive producer on the film. So it's not like he's, unattaching his name from the project. He's just taking a different role. I think Sam Raimi, for a horror style film, is a natural fit, as we saw in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The question is, will they be leaning into the Sam Raimi goofy humor, or will it be kind of a straight, action horror? I think that's the question.
And it's funny because I can see Blade going either direction and being successful in both endeavors. So I think it will be interesting to see which direction they decide to take it. I mean, Blade in the Evil Dead kind of vein, or, Blade Drag Me to Hell, that could really work. But a more straightforward action horror movie that Blade has sort of been in the past, I can also see that working. The one thing which I feel like is maybe a pitfall here is I think that while this movie could really reshape the landscape of the Blade universe altogether, it also it's dangerous because we saw what happened with Morpheus. And I'm not comparing Blade to Morpheus in any way, but I am saying that, like, hey, you know what? There is some danger here to treating source content irreverently when fans are so hardcore about stuff. So I think, there could be some pitfalls, but there is the potential for things to be really good. What do you think?
Well, I would love to see something like the original Blade movies. And I understand that they're going to inject the levity at places as Marvel does. I just want it to be. I just want it to be good. And honestly, I've not seen a bad Marvel project yet. There's been several projects that have approached that line of mediocrity, but even the worst of Marvel Studios products hasn't been bad.
So, did you not see Love and Thunder?
I did. Loved it.
Siri? Wow.
It's my second favorite Thor movie.
I'll go to the mat for Taika Waititi in almost every single direction that you ask me to, but I don't know what happened with Love and Thunder. I hated it. I hated every second of it. I didn't even like what I thought I would like in it. And I mean that takes a lot for me because one, I'm totally infatuated with Chris Hemsworth, and two, I absolutely respect in the deepest possible way Taika Waititi's genius, and Thor Ragnarok was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, we've seen Thor Ragnarok 20 times, no less. But
I
Love and
know him
Thunder,
from work.
I couldn't even. See, it still cracks me up. But Love and Thunder, I can't even pull out a single line and go, "Oh yeah, that was funny." To me, it's just like it's all. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It just, wow. I can't
I,
even blame it on any one person. Just feels like everybody showed up to work and they were like, "Yeah, okay, we'll just half calf this. See what happens."
I looked at it as, and I did find it weird that even with this, the direction they chose, it's a story being told by an unreliable narrator,
Mm-hmm.
and the events may have happened, but they didn't happen in the way that Korg was describing them exactly.
I know.
Things were
That's true.
embellished, and it was basically a live action cartoon in the
Okay,
same way of Batman and Robin.
okay, but an unreliable narrator is no excuse for bad storytelling. I'm sorry, but no. Taika Waititi, you don't get a pass on this. And again, everything else, I, I'll go to the mat for just, I mean, anything Taika Waititi does. I love everything, and this, I don't know. I don't know what happened here, but also, okay, but also, this is why I say that I think that there is some danger for Blade to go in the direction of things being too tripped up funny without the I don't know what the good word is for this, but without something more to coalesce around. Like, if they're gonna do Sam Raimi, things can be really tricky and actually kind of fun. That's one thing, but the center needs to kind of coalesce around something pretty serious. And Love and Thunder didn't do either of those things.
I give them all the credit in the world for having one moment when they were talking about James Cancer that they didn't step on with comedy.
Yeah, okay. All right. I did love Korg. I did love Korg. I am actually kind of sad that he didn't get his revolution, but
Always next time.
also, just by segue, I am the only person on the planet that I know that really loves The Blade with Ryan Reynolds. Everybody else thinks it was trash, and why did they even make that movie? And it was terrible.
And it also had
I
Triple H in it.
I loved it. I mean, I seriously just loved it. It was so fun. So, yeah.
Well, next we have a new American Pie movie is in the works from Universal.
Oh boy.
Now, there is a lot of feelings about this, and I'm not quite sure where I'm at. Every generation has kind of its sex comedy, representation, right? Whether it's Porky's or the original American Pie, everybody has their generation's movie. Their
True.
generation's R-rated comedy about, you know, I'm not even sure what the term to use here is. But with that being said, I'm not sure I would want the new generations, I guess it would be for Gen Z to use a more or less millennial uh, IP for the same purposes. I'm all about, you know what? It's not like we made a new Porky's. No, we had American Pie. I would be more interested in seeing something without the same name. And I know that makes me sound old. Get off my lawn, kids. American Pie is our thing. But I do think there should be one of these types of movies for the next generation where they talk about the new sexual identities and things that are much more acceptable across the board, and do it in a way that isn't insulting, because I know there are a lot of shows and movies out there that deal with sex, and I don't know, it just feels like when it comes to certain things, certain spectrums, and certain relationship ideologies, most of the time it's done with like a little tongue in cheek and maybe a little nod and a wink to the older people that are like, yeah, these kids are weird, right? But to do something in a way where it feels more respected, I think would be refreshing. And if there was ever a franchise that could do it, it would be, an American Pie type film. Again, I'm just getting stuck on titles. What do you think?
This one time at band camp. Okay.
As
Just
required
kidding.
by law to say whenever you mention American Pie.
Indeed, I felt like it was obligatory.
Stifler's got that one out of the way too.
Okay, so as we were talking about in the beginning of the show, I think that nostalgia plays a big part in this, and I also think that series franchise. Okay, first of all, without getting too long-winded about it, there's a huge push in a lot of uh, intellectual property circles to hold on to franchise rights. And if you don't remake something or revamp it in some way, sometimes you end up losing the rights. And I see why it kind of becomes a thing. I don't necessarily think that this needs to be the thing. I have heard that it's supposed to be a very different take on American Pie, which maybe could be good. But if we're gearing this toward Gen Z, man, you got your work cut out for you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, I don't know how this segues. I don't know how this jigsaw puzzle fits together for the Gen Z crowd, because I don't think that American Pie as an actual piece of content works for the Gen Z crowd at all. Um, I don't even think that it works for a lot of the millennials that were born at the end of the millennial cycle. It's not, it isn't the same kind of material that they want to see. In a, I will say this. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I haven't heard anything specific plot wise. And so I can't really speak to that, but I can say there is, and we're going to actually talk about this on TV dinners next week. There is a part of humor that has really changed over the past 10 or so years, and the public is really demanding something quite a bit different out of humor than we used to, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but the evolving cycle of it leads me to believe that projects like this are maybe not going to be as successful as they think they might be. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So you're thinking it could be a swing and a miss.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, again, I have Gen Z kids, and I don't know how this works for them. They're not into the same kind of humor. I mean, I got my kids to watch you know, Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation.
How do you use a
And
magazine?
Um, and what else? What was the Christmas one? The
Christmas
the one with
Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. Yes, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't put that together. The one with Chevy Chase. And my kids loved it, but they also pointed out all of the truly like over the top stuff that was like, oh, this would never fly today. Like, wow, nice that you made that back then, but hey, this isn't something that we want to see. Like, if I was going to redo this, this is what I would do. So, I mean, like, the humor is definitely just really different, very different.
Well, I look forward to that conversation on TV dinners Thursday
Me too.
night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific.
It's going to be fun. That's going to be a good one.
All right. Just a quick note: Trevor Noah is exiting the Daily Show.
I'm sad.
For 7 years, he has helmed the show after Jon Stewart took his leave. Um, Although for a time it looked like John Oliver might have been taking over that slot, but he went to HBO instead for Last Week Tonight, and I think the numerous Emmy awards would agree. Great choice.
Good choice. Yes, absolutely.
And Trevor Noah, I'm not gonna downplay what he's done on the Daily Show. I can't, because it's still an enjoyable show. I will say it did become less mandatory viewing for me, but I still watched it when I could. And I will add that it had nothing to do with Trevor Noah being the host that kind of not turned me off to it, but had me watching less. There was a period of time where the Daily Show was firing on all cylinders with all of its correspondence, with Jon Stewart hosting, and it was just an amazing time. And it was lightning in a bottle. It was
Yeah.
definitely something that couldn't be recaptured. But at the same time, it also came at a time when I, as well as millions of other people, started cutting the cord and becoming less cable dependent. And when Viacom, I think it was, had their deal with Hulu, and the Comedy Central shows were on it, new episodes next day, it was still one of those things where I would watch it on Hulu. But once that deal ended, there was really no viable way for me to continue watching on a regular basis, because, as easy as some people say it is, I don't find it very convenient at all to go to Comedy Central's website to watch a show, especially when you have to log in with your cable provider and, prove that I still pay for cable. No, I'm good. Uh, so Trevor Noah just kind of went by the wayside a little bit for me. And on Facebook, I would watch the videos that the Daily Show posts, and you know YouTube videos whenever something interesting popped up, like an interview or a segment. And it's gonna be tough to fill, once again, the shoes of Trevor Noah. 7 years is quite a while to make an impression, and yes.
I have a slightly different take on why I think a lot of people stopped watching The Daily Show, although clearly a lot of people kept with it. I think that when Jon Stewart exited, it was just around the time when comedy began to take on not the comedy, but the people viewing the comedy began to feel personally attacked by the comedy. And I feel like that's stupid. And comedy is an equal opportunity offender, and there is no right way to deliver comedy unless you are punching so far down that it really is reaching. I don't want to hear stuff that, well, I'll get into that later, but But I feel like the politics of our day have polarized the ability to deliver really good comedy, um, because people stopped thinking that it was funny and started thinking that it was insulting to them, instead of we're all laughing at each other, because mocking each other is one of the ways that we understand both our shortcomings and our drives that are just ridiculous and things that just demand being called out. Um, and that's a really hard place to sit. So I have to say, I give Trevor Noah a lot of credit for dealing both with all of that and being able to maintain a sense of humor through really dark stuff. I mean, really dark stuff. It has, you're right, it's been quite a journey, and he has really lived up, I think, which I feel like wasn't guaranteed in the beginning, to what Jon Stewart started. Like, Jon Stewart created something with the Daily Show, which was obviously, yes, different, yes, lightning in a bottle, yes, all that stuff. But Trevor Noah, when he picked it up, did really give the Daily Show a finesse that it hadn't had before, and his humor really is funny. I mean, Trevor Noah is a very funny person. So that's kind of what I think about, I don't know how in the world they're going to replace a Trevor Noah. Like, I guess we all said that about Jon Stewart too, and something great happened, but man, our sources are drying up pretty fast here.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
I don't really don't really have anything to add to that. So I will move on to Sony acquires the rights to Tarzan and will reinvent the movie franchise.
Oh, good lord. Okay. Excuse me while I reach for some Tums.
Wait, you don't think it's time for another Tarzan movie?
This whole thing gives me so much stress. It shouldn't, but it does. Short, by way of explanation, I really wanted to love the Tarzan with Alexander Skarsgård. I mean, I wanted to love it, and I hated it. I can't even watch it at all because it's just so dumb. And don't get okay, I get it. It's a dumb premise. It doesn't stand up so well anymore. I think I don't know. Like a lot of our past love affair with certain science fictions, unless we reinvent them, they don't stand up. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea doesn't stand up anymore. Not because it isn't a great story, but because we have to reinvent it with the perils that we know exist now, or invent new ones. And Tarzan just keeps trying to tell the same story over and over and over again in some slightly different way, and it expects us to just maintain our sense of, oh yeah, that could happen feeling about it. And like, come on, aren't we better than this? At least more creative, a little? I don't
No,
know.
we are not.
Yeah, I guess not. Listen, I'm advocating right now, instead of bringing back Tarzan, we bring back George of the Jungle. Give us Brendan Fraser. That's the hill I'll die on. There we go.
Well, watch out for that tree, huh?
Come on, you can't argue that George of the Jungle was a superior movie to the Tarzan with Alexander Skarsgård. I'm so sorry, Alexander Skarsgård. I love you.
Well, you know what? I say forget both of them and make a film out of Guitarzan.
Out of what?
Guitarzan.
Oh, Guitarzan. Oh, wow. Hey.
And his jungle band. Yeah, Ray Stevens.
The very
two people out there are laughing.
Folk. I can't even.
And finally, in the biggest news of the millennium, the news that had me smiling from ear to ear, Let's see. Do I have anything for this? No, I don't. Dang it. I would have loved some like ambient music where it's like,
Oh, for a second there, I thought you were saying that you didn't actually have a news story and you were looking for one that was the news story of the millennium. Okay, go.
No, I have it, but I wish I could set the tone.
Gotcha.
So I guess I can do a voice. Hold on. The prophecy is being fulfilled. It is happening.
Uh-oh.
The first half of the prophecy had already come true. But now we will have 6 seasons and a movie.
Uh-oh. Yes?
The Community movie is a go.
Okay.
To finally fulfill Abed's prophecy of 6 seasons and a movie.
Wow.
Every year it was on the verge of cancellation. And every year it survived, except when it didn't. And even when it didn't, Yahoo picked it up. Because I don't know. Nobody knows. But the 6th season aired on Yahoo. It counts, though. So we got our 6 seasons. And now finally, after years of waiting, we're getting the movie. Developed for Peacock. It is, it's coming. It's coming. The movie's coming. Community, the movie. It's happening. It's going to be a thing. I'm so excited.
You're kind of excited about it.
I'm so excited. Troy and Abed in a movie. It's going...
I mean, I'm excited for you. I'm very excited for you.
Did you not watch Community?
Yeah, I'm just not as excited about it.
So good. So good.
I know.
So happy. So happy.
We're all very excited for you. Here, have some more non-alcoholic water.
Oh, yes. Oh, just... I was actually talking to one of my friends earlier, and when I looked at my phone and this headline came up, I was like, it's happening. It's happening. And he's one of my friends. The only reason this guy and I are friends is because, we have a mutual friend, and it started off with I don't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, did you just make a Hamilton reference? And he's like, yes, I did. I was like, yes. And then, I made a Community reference, and he's like, did you just make a Community reference? And I was like, yes, I did. So the only reason this guy and I are friends is because we know and like the same things. I guess that's just friendship. Anyway, but he was, on the line with me at the time, and he was like, what? And I was like, it's happening. The prophecy's happening. He's like, what? I said, 6 seasons and a movie. And he's like, it's happening? And I was like, yes. And then when I told my kids, I didn't even have to say much. I was like, it's happening. The prophecy's happening. They're like, what prophecy? I was like, 6 seasons in a movie. And the oldest one runs out of the room, and he's like, the community movie's happening. It's happening. So yes, this was big news at my house.
I honestly, we only had that kind of big news when Rings of Power came out, so I feel your joy, even if we're not quite on the same exact parallel course. But I do feel your joy, absolutely.
Oh, I had to mute myself. That was
just too excited. Just too excited.
And believe it or not, that's all the headlines I have.
I mean, listen, I know that there are a ton of headlines out there, but this does feel like we have actually conquered quite a mountain with them. So I am not unhappy. Yeah.
This, believe it or not, this is not a thing we do on the show. Although after the conversations we had tonight, maybe it could be.
It should be. It definitely should be. I will definitely be tuning in to hear if that becomes a recurring piece, because that I feel like this is good. Very good.
Well, I lured you in here with the promise of game playing, and you know what? I am going to do that.
All right.
Now, I've decided essentially to steal a game from this other thing. And it's a game that involves creativity. So what we're going to do, I have a random movie generator from movierankings.net.
Uh-oh.
And we're going to get not one, but two movies. We're going to get two movies, and we are going to figure out how to connect them together.
Oh.
And they're going to be completely random. So do you think you're up for this task?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I'm pretty... Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I won't pat myself on the back until after that's actually possible.
So are you ready?
Ready.
All right, randomize. Randomizing the movie now. Movie number 1 is Justice League War. I'm thinking maybe there should be some sort of filter on here. So let's get a do-over.
League War. Did I even see Justice League War? I don't think so.
Okay, well, there we go. Okay, the first one is The Tree of Life.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that one. So I'm going to need some help. The second movie is 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh. Okay. Let me think about that for a second. So... Well, I mean, it kind of works together, right? Because A Tree of Life is the movie that has Sean Penn and Brad Pitt in it. And it's what's a good way? It's like a philosophical film. It's definitely very art house. And what is a good way to explain this? Boy, I don't know. Well, it deals a lot with life and death, which is sort of the right vein to be in, right?
I mean, are either of these.
Really? You never saw 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
I have not.
Wow. I'm gonna go with 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Deals with growing older and learning the valuable lessons of life in the same way that The Tree of Life is all about doing the same, except an asteroid strikes the Earth at the end of The Tree of Life. So it's many weddings and everybody's funeral.
Okay, we're gonna try one more.
That's hard. That is not an easy one. Those two do not actually mesh that well.
And I should clarify, we're going to come up with a third movie to tie these movies together that we
Lord.
create on our own. Okay, so the first one after the randomized is Fighting with My Family.
Okay.
Followed by Vice.
Okay.
So we're going to take the stories, both biopics. One about, at the time, she was Paige in the WWE, and her, the story of her and her family as she worked to become a wrestler. And we got to tie the story together with Dick Cheney's biopic.
They both deal with. Wait, I got this. They both deal with spinning reality totally differently than the way it actually is, and making us believe it.
Okay.
I mean, am I right? I mean, okay, WWE, full on SmackDown, not really. Vice, Dick Cheney, weapons of mass destruction. Just kidding. I feel like this could blend. This could totally, yes. Alternate realities meant to make us think this is the reality.
I'll allow it.
Right? I don't know. It's not fake news. It's just a different reality.
I would like to see a movie where, let's see, I think in this timeline, Vice would come first, and Fighting with My Family would be the third movie in the trilogy. So in the middle, you would have former Vice President Dick Cheney going to England, to go hunting. That's what he does. Shoots his friends in the face and then makes them apologize for it. That's a true story, by the way.
But in this version, he shoots a fox and makes the fox apologize for it.
Makes the fox apologize.
And then wrestles the horses.
Paige's dad is a wrestling promoter in England.
So he sees Dick Cheney wrestling the horses and goes, I have an idea.
Oi, would you like to be in the matches tonight? And Dick Cheney says, yeah, I'll do wrestling. Yeah, why not?
Oh, great impression. Great, really good.
And then a young Paige is there, ringside, just like, well, if this old man can do it, I can do it.
Oh, yes,
and
the stuff dreams are made of.
Then we get the Fighting with My Family movie. So it all leads to Dick Cheney inspires Paige to be a wrestler.
That actually sounds not plausible, but entertaining.
And that's what we're aiming for here when we create new movies based on two completely insane ideas. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this game was a success.
It was very fun.
After all, Abe Lincoln was a pro wrestler, so it could work.
Yeah, no kidding.
That could be part of the movie too. Well, yeah. Honest Abe was a wrestler, so I'll be a wrestler.
Apparently, Abe was also a vampire hunter, so there's that.
Man had many hobbies.
Just infinite, yes.
And duties to America. Not trying to get political, though, so...
He's a historical figure. I think it's a little too late for that.
Well, with all of that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here on the WADcast, episode number 106, the Writers, Actors, Director podcast. I hope you all had a good time tonight. I know I did, with my third night of broadcasting in a row with Jen. We've had a good week.
We have. This has actually been really fun. And I have to say that guest spotting on the WADcast is really an enjoyable experience. Everybody should sign up for this experience. I think you will walk away an enriched person.
You hear that, Kevin Smith?
I'm sending out all those good vibes right now.
We'll save some of those good vibes for next Wednesday. What are we doing next Wednesday, Jen?
Hey, next Wednesday we have 10 to 1, which I cannot believe we are getting close to again, where we are going to be talking about our favorite movies to watch on Halloween. I have already been super busy putting together my list, erasing them, and putting new choices down. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting list. We have such a long list of movies that we like to watch on Halloween. None of them you'll, I think, be truly thankful for are Christmas movies. So there's that.
Well, I guess I got the assignment wrong because all I did was order the top 10 Halloween movies that I enjoy. I guess I should. I'm talking about just the Michael Myers Halloween movies.
You're talking about just the Halloween franchise movies. Oh.
Yeah, I should probably add other things.
Yeah, this is definitely not just a tribute to Michael Myers. Although, let's be honest. What would Halloween be without a Halloween movie? I feel like that is okay.
Evil dies tonight.
Poor Jamie Lee Curtis. Could we just give that woman some rest? I mean, she really deserves it.
Nah.
Pretty soon we're going to be... Never mind. I won't even... You know what? I'm not going to speak any of my ideas. None of them I'm going to speak out loud. Do you know why?
Why?
Because honestly, sometimes I feel like just speaking things out into the universe allows the possibility for them to happen. And I'm ready for Halloween to tastefully, artfully, sort of disappear into the ethos.
Sunset.
Let's bring a new franchise into the mix. And by that I mean, son of Michael Myers, which could be really great. I don't really want to get into how he had a son. I just want to have son of Michael Myers out there. That's all.
Fair enough. By the way, I'm ready to also do my list for the next week after that. So we're not going to announce that until Wednesday on 10/21, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific.
It's favorite Lord of the Rings movies, right? That's what it is, right? We're just going to have 10 movies that are all dedicated to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. That was my other fantasy life. I'm so sorry. I'm mixing my multi-universe head here. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it's going to be exciting.
Well, 10/21 is a fantastic show and a great collaboration between moviesandmeals.com and WADco Media. But there are other things that we do together. Tell us about Thursday.
Thursday this week, as I mentioned before, is TV dinners. And on TV dinners this week, we're going to talk about comedy as it is reflected in our series that we watch. What is making comedy change? What have we done to sort of alter what we think is comedy? Let's talk about Abbott Elementary. Let's talk about the things that we find funny and why we find them funny. And then also maybe a little bit of, hey, are we running the risk of being too offended by things? I mean, that's kind of a controversial take, but where are we with all of that? I just want to have an open, honest discussion about it, not smack anybody down, I promise.
Brandon chimes in with, at this point, the Halloween franchise is a choose-your-own-adventure story. Erasing the entire franchise to make the newer movies was a mistake, except for Halloween Resurrection.
Yes.
Well, as always, you can be here on Friday nights as well for the 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific WADcast. Next week's episode 107. It's not 10 minutes before showtime, so I don't know what we're going to talk about, so you'll have to tune in until next week to find out, although there will be some announcements made before then. Before we go, Jen, moviesandmeals.com. It's spooky season. Tell everybody,
We have a ton of Halloween recipes at Movies and Meals. Some of them haven't been updated to the front page, but do a search. There are lots and lots and lots. We are doing baking this weekend, so we should have some new recipes up with, my endeavor in photography. It's not always that great, but trust me, the food is awesome. So yes, join us for that. And one other quick thing that I just forgot. Did you guys get to see? Did you get to see, Josh, or did you get to see, Brandon, the Munsters, the Rob Zombie Munsters?
I started watching it.
I wanted to go in hating that movie because, whatever. I didn't think I was gonna like it. No, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was just plain fun. This man had a good time with that movie. So yes, I definitely highly suggest watching it.
Okay. Glad I'm not on camera.
I mean, it's spooky season. You're supposed to watch new spooky movies. I mean, not that the Munsters is spooky, but it, plays right along in there.
I will say my oldest is enjoying it and looked at me with a shocked expression when I was like, okay, I'm going to bed now. Like, what about the movie? I was like I said, I'm going to bed now.
Hey, is it this week or is it next week that Wednesday comes out? The story that is the, rest of the Addams Family stuff.
Tim Burton doing television-ish.
Yeah, it's dicey. But I'm kind of excited about it. If for no other reason than it's the Addams Family. I mean, come on.
Looking for a premiere date.
I think I want to say that it's I know it's sometime this month, right?
And then this is going to be revealed. This is Wednesday. We start about the stand disco. And Center. Nope, not Massachusetts. November 23rd.
Wow. I really have my dates mixed up. Oh, I see. But it's the Netflix. It's on Netflix, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they had an original air date for October, and then they pushed it to November. So that's what I get for not staying up on things. Sorry. Still something to look forward to.
What did Tim Burton have anything to do with this? Because I thought I read somewhere that he did.
No, actually, I mean, I was going to chime in there in a second. No, I think there was actually talk early on, but the program creators are not him at all. It's not that.
He's listed as an EP, and that's it. Oh, and the creator.
Right, but the showrunners are not. Anyway. I'm not discounting that there might be some Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah, Danny Elfman's doing the music, so.
But that is a good thing. I feel like that's actually a really good thing. In the same way that Rings of Power would not be Rings of Power without Howard Shore doing the title theme.
So it's going to be, yeah, I guess it's one of those things where Tim Burton's like, I'll help you figure out what the thing is, and then just put my name on it. I'm not going to be here every day.
Right. Well, I mean, he probably had other things to do. It's okay. We're good. Catherine Zeta-Jones, come on. You can't go wrong.
All right. So I guess that leaves only one thing left to do. Jen, I don't know if you're aware, but every week I have a sort of final thought about Jerry Springer.
Hit it.
It starts off with a little bit of music. Yeah. So this is the part where I thank you all for joining us. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But I do need to remind you, all of you, that the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. you're the only thing getting in your own way. If you want to be a creator, then create. If you want to be a writer, start writing. If you want to be a director, you got a phone, start shooting video. Now, nobody's going to say you're going to instantly become a great auteur, but everybody has to begin somewhere, and you can't be anywhere if you don't take that first step. Life sometimes throws you curveballs and leaves you with a hole that needs to be filled. Yeah, it can be tough. But remember, with a little bit of planning and a whole lot of execution, you can get exactly where you need to be. Okay, well, that was episode number 106 of the WADcast. I hope you all enjoyed the show tonight. It was good hearing from everybody in the comments section, for those of you that like to join us live. I hope you join us again next week, which hopefully Brandon will be released from his prison and allowed back into the land of the WAD. Jen, you've been a great co-host tonight. Thank you so very much for filling in. Love to have you back, of course.
Thank you so much for having me. Had a great time. Great time.
So while I look for the tag to close the show on this long list of things that I have here on my control panel, I want to say, have a great week, have a great night, have a great life, because you get to control that. We'll see you next week.
We named the dog Indiana.